And we're back.
Yes, he's back.
So, yeah, you guys are currently standing in the town square of Rourke's Gate. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. Yeah, Elizabeth just goes, for some reason I was imagining it a lot smaller.
Why?
I don't know. I guess the stuff you did was a relatively small part of it.
Well, there's only a few key buildings, but people gotta live there somehow.
Tallithsyr turns to you, Kelariis, and sort of says, "So, this is the place with the underground temple, right?"
Yeah, it is. Just kind of like do the motion of like maybe like voice down.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. But yeah,
I wonder
think
if they've managed to get on.
Do you think we could go?
I mean, I'd love to see everybody there again. Sure, though I'm sure some of them will be less excited to see me than than others.
Oh.
But
I think it might be helpful for me to see, I don't know, like a place.
Well, it might also be good to find some allies in,
yeah.
or well, people can tell.
And I can suppose you can always find out if they did manage to work with Paylor's church.
Doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know.
I looked at this here and say, we can definitely go, no matter what.
She looks a little excited.
Oh, I love her so much.
Yeah.
I mean, Grim, the people in Ivywood Market mentioned talking to the Radiant Dawn, right? Saying that they probably have more information about the stuff going on here.
Potentially.
Radiant Dawn? Is that
The Radiant Dawn, yes.
Yeah, potentially. However, wait, no, the group. Okay, this out of character real quick. The group that we met here, those were not called the Radiant Dawn, right? Kelariis.
No,
no, that's not our,
the Guardians
Yeah,
of
the Radiant
Namud are
Dawn
the
that was
Tritharian worshippers. The Radiant Dawn is it's the more it's the organized order of the Pelorian Church. You met Chaplain Sunkeeper, who had some association with it, and the Paladin that you met as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Whose name in character you still don't know.
Yep.
Shit.
Paylor boys.
That's
Like,
how we
honestly,
do.
look, names are for sappy people.
And we're not.
Yeah, we're clearly
know our
sappy
group?
people, because Tallithsyr's here.
I know.
What is that supposed to mean?
What I'm saying is, if we weren't sappy people, then she wouldn't even be in the backstory. So she
Wow.
wouldn't exist.
Of course she exists. She's important.
Exactly, because
Anyway.
we're sappy people.
So where do you want to go?
First, or maybe secure someplace to stay, and then go around asking. Actually, what time of day is it?
It's about the middle of the day.
Oh, okay.
I feel like securing a place to sleep might not be too bad, but then I would suggest we go find your friends.
Okay.
So,
Because,
place to stay,
I feel like
whatever their name was.
I feel like they will probably provide us with more information that we might be able to use with the Radiant Dawn.
Okay, so the order of business so far. Place to stay.
Yes.
Namud folk. Radiant Dawn. Anything else?
Do we want to split and cover more ground?
That would also work.
I'm not. Well, like I feel like we should do this as a group.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about splitting the party when there's literally someone.
Oh, yeah, that's a very
actively
good point.
lost.
Yeah. All right.
That is a very
that's
good
fair.
Well, and regardless, I think it's good for everybody to know everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, that's actually.
Yeah, that makes
fair
sense.
point. All right then. We could. There was the inn that we stayed at last time. I'm sure that I have the name written down, but it's in my old book, and I don't have that at my desk.
I'm like thinking, we did leave that in on a good note, did we? Yeah. No.
Yeah, I don't think we
Well-
pissed them off.
Although, we did get robbed whilst at the inn.
Yeah, but that wasn't their fault, and also it wasn't like
Yeah.
we got robbed, broken into, but it was a very clean break-in, I think, which was part of the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys kind of got robbed because you robbed? No offense or anything.
We're not going to
Just
get
saying.
into that entire conversation, but let's just say that things were taken from their rightful owners, and they are back where they
You know what? Let's just say stuff happened.
I guess actually,
It's
technically,
not
I
gonna
have.
happen again. Stuff happened. It's not gonna happen again, so we don't have to worry. Boom. Problem solved. Let's go. I don't know which way it is, so one of you has to go.
Let's go! I have no idea where we're going. Somebody else lead.
That's Elizabeth in a nutshell.
Assuming I remember where it is, I will.
Yeah, it's basically on the main street. I wonder if I still have the. Let's restore all of these ones called Tavern, because it's bound to be one of these. Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the memories.
It's been a while.
Oh, the memories.
Yeah.
That was our.
Many an angry debate about ethics was had in this tavern.
I didn't remember how fancy the benches were.
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what Grim says as soon as we walk
Yeah.
back in.
I didn't realize how fancy the benches were. And meanwhile, Elizabeth just stood there. You call that fancy?
So you
For an inn.
you step into the tavern. There's a number of people sort of present inside who are sort of eating and drinking. The establishment is it's fairly similar to how you recall it. Like the place seems to be in pretty good nick. The barkeep that you recognise as the tavern owner, or you know as the tavern owner, is not present, but there is somebody manning the bar.
Good afternoon.
The one sort of like looks around, looks down, and says, "Oh, hello."
We are looking for some rooms. Well, and I guess, would you have any available?
I believe we do. We haven't got many travellers in at the moment.
Actually, do you have, are all rooms available?
We've got quite a few. Depends what you're looking for.
Oh, no, never mind. I was just thinking of something, but yes. So how many rooms do we want? I guess we want 4 rooms, if possible. One, at least one, for 2. Well, one was a double bed or similar, or 2 singles.
So 3 singles and a twin.
Yes, that would be good.
I'll see what we can do. Sort of disappears off into the back for a moment. Comes out with sort of a number of keys with tags on them. Sort of says, "What exactly are you looking for? Are you looking for just a simple room for the night, or are you looking to stay a little longer?"
Maybe a couple of days.
Probably at least a couple of days.
Probably a couple of days. We're not quite sure how long our stay will be, but we'll
She
Well,
picks off a
holy
couple of
shit.
keys and sort of says, these are the some of our more well, what's the word? These are some of the more furnished rooms. We can do those between you. It's around 5 silver a night. That's meals inclusive.
Per room or?
Per room, yes.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So that's 2 gold between the lot of you.
That would.
pretty
That's
good.
excellent. Shall we? I guess we might as well pay in advance for like. We're gonna be at least 3 nights, probably more. But like, if you pay in advance for 3 nights, we don't have to worry about it too much. Or well, what do you guys think?
I'm fine with that.
Well, like I'm mainly
Yeah.
worried that we get stuck somewhere again, and that it takes us a few extra days to get back. Due to, well, it wouldn't be the first time.
We're more than
Yeah.
happy to hold some money for you, and if you don't, you end up leaving before you plan. It can be returned to you.
You know what? I feel like that is a fair enough deal. So we'll just pay for a week.
Okay.
I guess I'll subtract that money. So 7 times 2 is 14.
14. Okay. You slide like 14 gold over the bar. The bartender is like, "Oh, thank you very much." Sort of begins to well. He says, "Do you have a name that I can put this to?"
Yes. Put it on there, Quagrim Daemaris.
Okay then. I'm gonna need some help spelling that.
Oh, yes, of course.
You explain to her how to spell your name.
Yeah, it was like
Can you just get Grim like a badge or business card that he can just flash his little pen written out?
well, like I'm working on it, but
But will it have your name etched on it? That's the real question.
Oh, I guess that's
mean-
that
Do
would
you
be a
just,
good
just
one.
want a bit of? Do you just want a piece of paper? You know, just to make do. Because I've got pretty fancy handwriting. I can make it look nice.
Well, we'll figure that out once we get back. I feel like we have other priorities currently.
Good point.
She takes the gold, puts it behind the bar, writes your name down, hands over the keys.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I guess we might as well drop some of our stuff off. If we have anything. Well,
Yeah, you
where do
are. You do have quite a lot of stuff. I assume you've been carrying sort of like armor and things on the horse while you've been traveling.
That would make sense.
Okay. So, you unload some stuff from the rooms, come downstairs. So where next?
Well,
Oh.
next on our list is Secret Folk. I forgot the names again.
The not so
Ow.
secret folk from the moon blade thingy.
The secret underground church that, yeah, them.
The followers
The
of
mood.
Barbarian.
So,
Guardians of the Mood.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's it.
so I know that the way to get into like the underground temple is in that small little, I guess, like park garden.
Yeah, the
place.
small garden. Yes.
I don't know if I want to just like show up without like
Oh.
unannounced is the thing.
We did go into one of their homes, if we remember where that was.
Yeah, I think you know where Cassian's house is. I can't remember.
Yes.
That sounds
Yeah, I think
familiar.
that sounds right.
Yes.
It was either Cassian or Velt. I think it was Cassian's house.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Cassian.
Yeah.
Hopefully she still lives there.
Elizabeth just casually makes the idle comment like, Tallithsyrians are a god who, luckily, we've not had much need to pray to.
Excuse me?
Well, as in, like, you pray to the gods when you need their assistance, right? I'm saying we've never needed his assistant. Nothing, I'm not saying that. Nothing against you, like,
I
just
feel
saying.
like Jayla is like quaking.
Well,
we
True.
pray to. My family's, at least, very least, my dad's side is very religious. They pray to a lot of the god whenever they need help.
but even then,
They've never needed the god of vengeance, I suppose.
but
I'm just saying it's a good thing because it means nothing bad's happened.
but wouldn't you be praying in order to maintain your relationship?
Also, Jayla basically like every time she uses.
Who the fuck is Jayla?
Yeah, who's Jayla? Is this some elven friend of yours?
No, Kelariis.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Is Jayla
I mean,
elf?
pretty much every time Kelariis uses her sword, channeling divine energy. So
So I think you misunderstand what it is that Tritherian stands for. That is part of it, but a lot of it is for the freedom to choose. And sometimes that requires you to, I guess if that's the way you want to look at it, take vengeance.
Elizabeth quickly pulls out a bit of paper. Is like, write that down.
Well,
Sorry, I've only got a kind of rough understanding of religion. It's not really my thing.
I don't. Kelariis is like. She's not like super upset, but like that clearly didn't really sit well
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah, she's like, I'm sorry if I caused offense.
And it's this town. It sets you guys against each other.
I mean,
look, there's no one else to do it for us, so I guess we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah.
God.
can't say we're not efficient.
So
We've been here like all of 5 minutes.
I mean, this is Elizabeth's flaw. She speaks without really thinking through words, invariably insulting others.
you knock on the door to the house that you believe to be Cassin's. And there is no answer.
Shit.
I mean, it probably makes sense that she would be at the,
Yeah, I mean, I have another way of potentially, I just don't want to go down there unannounced. Like, I'm sure that if I'm like, hey, what's up, I'm in town, like, don't freak out, it won't be as big of a deal, but, I want to try, I guess if Cassian doesn't answer, or, like, nobody answers the door, I want to go and try to find Velt, because I know that the first time we ever came here, he was in front of...
Yes, he was hanging out in front of the church pretending to be a beggar.
Yes. So I can only assume that he still does that.
I mean,
Maybe.
it's quite cold to be doing that,
You'd be surprised.
I suppose.
You go to the front of the cathedral. He is not there.
Yeah, right, fair enough.
There is, standing in front of the gates to the cathedral, though, is a figure who does look rather familiar. There is a man stood there with he's got a plate armor breastplate and heavy chainmail, with a Radiant Dawn insignia and a small cape, and has his sort of long sword at his side and shield on his back. And yeah, standing there is a paladin of the Radiant Dawn who looks rather familiar to you guys.
That's not a beggar.
No.
Good observation. God, I can't believe we're immediately getting thrown into the situation of regretting that we don't know this person's name.
I reckon it's intentional.
Well-
No.
Well, we could always put it off.
I mean,
I mean, technically, we did assign a rough order.
I will approach.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hail.
So you
Approach
like
hail.
you walk up to him, like he turns, stands to attention, and like sort of like quite clearly, obviously recognizes you.
You know. Okay, this is me, Jayla, who has forgotten. We didn't have like we didn't like leave on bad terms with him. He was just
No, he didn't like you to start with.
yeah.
But then, when the decision was made to give you the baton, the Radiant Dawn basically gave you the ultimatum that you were in charge and responsible for the baton, and that when your quest was complete, or if you die, the baton was to be returned to the church.
Right.
So it was, you left on a formal, like, officiating agreement. So your relationship is very much business.
Fantastic.
Like you are opposing figureheads of religion with civic duty.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I just
So
couldn't
he's
remember if this was
presumably
somebody who
indifferent.
really didn't like us, or
Yeah.
or didn't like me. I couldn't remember because it's been a long time.
Professionally indifferent.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will approach.
Yeah. You are fairly obvious, so he
Yeah.
turns to you, greets you with a nod.
Hello. It has been a while, and to be honest, you were not the person that I was expecting to see here in front of the church, but I guess I shouldn't be that surprised.
He sort of cocks a half smile and sort of says, "Yes, it has been quite some time." Might I ask what your business is?
Yes, we have been... We heard rumor that there was some strange thing happening here lately, mostly in the... Scroll, go back a page, sorry. Mostly to the tune of, break-ins and people just generally behaving a bit differently than maybe is expected. And I'm sure that you're all capable of taking care of that yourself in the town, but we are concerned that it may be related to something bigger that's going on. Do you perhaps know about any of that?
He sort of, like, as you're saying this, he sort of like folds his arms and says, your assessment may be in line with my own. This is not the place to discuss. Perhaps I'm on duty at the moment, but perhaps a word with Chaplain Sunkeeper may be in order. I believe he may want to speak with you when things are done.
Sure. Is that... if you're on duty now, would it be later in the evening then?
Give or take a couple of hours, yes. We've had to beef up the security of the church in recent months. Apparently there are people out there who steal from the church.
Ooh.
You don't say. I hear that there are people that steal from several different churches.
Wow.
there's just this exchange that's just like, okay, fair enough.
You know, just laying it out there.
Yeah. No,
Is that really why? Or...
in truth, there was an incident. Again, not the best place to discuss.
I understand.
Yes. I'm sure there are plenty of people inside who would be willing to speak to you on such matters.
Well, if you are busy now, can we at least have a name to come calling for later? We have some other things to attend to as well.
Yeah, he sort of nods and says, of course. I don't think we ever exchanged pleasantries.
No.
Mostly
don't believe we
business. I am Paladin Ramos, Alejandros Ramos. Sorry, Alejandro Ramos.
did. Down. I can't believe it's been like a year and we finally have his name.
Look, we'll go back through all the NPCs.
Yeah, we'll get them all eventually.
That's the convention run.
Gotta catch
Yeah,
him.
that's our new
Gotta
quest.
catch it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
and
not
then,
NPCs. Gotta name them all.
God. Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's like I don't know if I would. I don't think I ever introduced myself either, for that matter. So I just stuck out a hand in Kelariis Greysurge. At least we're both on first name basis now.
Sort of grasps your hand.
Firm, firm grip.
Yep.
Though I guess before we leave, at least for now, do you happen to, or have you happened to see the last time we were here? There was a man who was often in front of the church, looking for or asking for money. Have you seen him lately?
He nods and says, "You mean Velt?"
Yes, I wasn't sure if you knew his name.
He is somewhat better known to us now, thanks to you.
Fair.
He visits occasionally. I have not seen him for a short while, but I have no doubt he is around. He and his associate are, well, efforts have been made to reconcile our differences. They do not always go well, but I think perhaps Chaplain Sunkeeper is the one to ask about that.
That is fair. Is he busy as well at the moment, or?
I believe he will be making preparations for the evening service, but I'm sure he can make time.
I guess I kind of look at everybody else and do you want to go and speak with him now, or?
Well, I guess we might as well.
It was more that, like, out of character, I don't know if we want to just come back and hit, like, all of the people, like, talking to all the people at the church, like, all in one go. Or if we want
Well-
to just, like, talk to Chaplain Sunkeeper because we're here, or...
But it's well, we didn't really get a exact location on Velt.
No, we didn't. I have a
So-
couple of ways that I could probably find him, but
I guess.
if we're here, we can be here.
Yeah, well, I guess there's not like we can always come back here if there's anything. So we might as well talk now.
Okay.
Okay.
To the chaplain.
Yeah, to the chaplain, because well, the Alejandro said they might know something.
Fair point. Yeah. So, I guess
Unless-
we walk in and ask to
Oh.
speak. Oh, sorry. Unless you want to.
I was gonna say unless well, I guess we can ask Alejandro if you'd prefer to be there as well, if he wants to.
Believe it or not, I think you can be trusted.
I guess that works for us.
Okay, so you step through the doors into the cathedral then.
Yup.
Okay. So, as you step into the cathedral, do any of you have any active magical effects?
My existence. No, I don't know.
My existence.
Beyond magical items.
Beyond sort of magical items, you're not sustaining any spell effects, etc.
No.
Don't think so.
All the magic is in Grim.
Unless you count a familiar.
No, a familiar does not count.
Yeah.
Okay, so you step through this doorway, and you feel as you step through the doorway, it's there's a moment like having your magic suppressed. Those of you who are capable of magic. For those of you who have ever had the experience of dispel magic being cast on or near yourselves, it's basically the same feeling.
Out of a sense of paranoia, I'd like to try and cast minor illusion to make just make a little random figure in my hand.
Okay, yeah, it happens.
Elizabeth just means a massive sigh of relief.
Yeah.
I imagine this has something to do with the security that Alejandro mentioned.
This would stop. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that would stop people like V from, altering self and walking
Pretending
in.
to be somebody that they're not.
But I doubt that was the reason.
No. I mean, it does sound like something else happened, so. I presume that if the chaplain is not, or like is it bleh, words. If he's getting ready for service, he's probably not like out.
No,
this
he is
area.
probably in the side chamber.
Right. Probably wouldn't just walk in there. So.
Yeah, as you cast your gaze around, basically a sitting on a bench at the back, sorting through books. Look, and as you sort of like look down at them, they look up and meet you. You see Catherine Voss, who sees you, like sort of cocks a small smile, and then sort of puts the books to one side and sort of stands up.
I'm also trying to write down all of the names because I forget all of them at this point.
It is rough.
So she walks over and sort of politely sort of like nods to those of you she doesn't recognize, and greets Kelariis and Arya mainly, and sort of says, "Well, it's funny running into you again.
Could say the same to you.
I work here."
Fair. But I guess, we didn't really expect to be coming back here anytime soon, much less seeing anybody here, so. Things have been going well, I hope.
As well as they can do. Yeah, I suppose since our last little conversation, things have been pretty normal, with the exception of one or two things. What about you? I don't suppose you're here to relinquish the baton just yet.
It's just like a grin. Just no, not quite. Although I suppose the things that you mentioned, I don't suppose they have anything to do with the feeling when we walked in. Magic?
Yes. It's not exactly common knowledge, but there was a rather unpleasant incident. An exchange between two nobles that I shouldn't really say too much. Yes, suffice it to say, after what you and your Dryad friend pulled, and this, we decided that perhaps beefing up the security a little was wise.
Yeah, that's
Where is Fee?
Kind of hibernating, but not really. It's a little complicated. She's a plant person.
I suppose that makes sense.
Yeah, she's kind of close to home.
Yeah.
But also close to where we live now. It's complicated.
Yeah.
I could have just left it there.
Catherine just sort of like rubs her hands together and says, "Ugh, I wish I could hibernate sometimes."
Yeah, that.
She's
I
like,
don't know.
"Je-
To be able to hibernate effectively, you'd have to put on a lot of weight.
She just sort of laughs and just says, "Well," like gestures to the rafters of the cathedral. These places don't heat themselves. It's
No, I don't think as much.
But you at least have the advantage of being able to cozy up to a fire.
Well, I don't think candles provide much heat. I know they don't.
She sort of says, "It is nice to go home in the evenings."
We were actually hoping to speak with the chaplain if he's not particularly busy at the moment. We spoke with Alejandro outside, Paladin Ramos outside. And
She sort
we
of
also
like
have
looks at you and is like, "I
questions.
didn't know you were on first name terms."
No, I corrected myself. Sorry,
Okay.
that was me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She says, Chaplain Audrell is he's robing at the moment, so he should only be a short while. You're welcome to wait.
I think we'll be fine with that if it won't be too long.
Shouldn't be.
Though I guess then, while we are waiting, have you heard of any other strange things going on in town or in the city?
Define strange.
Well, part of the reason that we came back up here is rumors that people weren't behaving exactly as normal, and a lot of break-ins happening, things like that.
She sort of like frowns a little and sort of says, I've heard there've been break-ins, but I don't know anything about people acting strange."
I mean, it's just like I kind of shrug. It could just be rumors, but we're worried that it may be related to something else that we're trying to look into. So, the more information, the better.
Well, if I hear anything, I'll let you know. But
I'd appreciate that.
yeah, I'm not exactly high up in the chain of command, so
No.
don't know how much I get told. It's not a lot. Not that I'm complaining, of course. I kind of like not being involved in quite so much excitement.
Well, that's a change from the last time we met.
Yeah, I have a tendency of jumping into things and not doing a great job of thinking them through. So, yeah, not having to make that decision is, yeah, it feels pretty good sometimes. I will admit, sometimes I do find things a little boring, but I've learned to make my own entertainment. It's amazing. Sometimes I'm in here all by myself, and even when it's just me, the acoustics are pretty good. So, a few moments pass. You guys sort of like wait around. Catherine is not wrong. It is quite cold in the church. But eventually, from the back, dressed in his full clerical robes, Chaplain Sunkeeper steps out. Catherine sort of gestures over to him and indicates you. He hurries over. Sort of says, "Ah, friends, it's been some time."
It has.
Yes.
So, I take it then your task is complete? You're...
Not quite.
Oh,
Came here for different reasons.
I see.
Related reasons, though?
Related reasons.
Vaguely?
I wouldn't say it's related. Well, necessarily, it's not directly related to. But well, well, I guess I might as well speak.
Yeah. For
We came here on suspicions, because we had suspicions that something was going on, and well, actually, we should probably talk in private. If there is a problem.
Yeah, Chaplain Sunkeeper says, of course we can talk private. Please, and just sort of, he leads you over to the confessional well that you guys sat in the last time you were here, or one of the last times you were here.
Excellent.
fantastic.
So it says, how can I help?
Well, there's well, I guess the best way to start would be by saying, like, we believe that there's the weird activities of the thefts and like the what do we call it? People being just let go. Might be related to something else, something bigger. And Paladin Ramos told us that he and you both suspected something as well.
Chaplain Sunkeeper sort of nods, says, not myself personally, but the Order of the Dawn. I'm aware that there have been a number of reported break-ins and mentioned to the guard, and then oddly, it was the thing that stood out to us was it was a number of break-in over a number of days, and too close together to be perceived as coincidence. But all of the people who had their homes broken into, 3 people in particular, all residents of the Noble District, towards the northern edge of town. All 3 of them, one after the other on the same day, all came to the guard and dropped any reports of the of the break-ins, saying all citing different reasons, but none of the reasons being particularly well. They seemed all oddly convenient to members of the guard. Considering an incident we had a couple of days ago, a couple of months ago, we have suspicions that it may have something to do with perhaps an incident that occurred here in the cathedral. I suppose the best thing to do is to explain to you precisely what it is that, well, as far as that we understand it, I do not know how much you know of the noble families who populate Rourke's Gate and are responsible for much of its industry. But there are a number of notable families, some of whom have had history in the past of conflict amongst one another. Never anything serious, sort of a business competition more than anything. Recently, however, a notable member of one of the families came here for confession. This is a fairly normal incident. This happens every now and again. We offer services to anyone who walks through our doors, but this one in particular, I took the confessional myself. The individual in question asked me to lead him through the process that we go through to offer forgiveness to people. And during the confessional, he said something. He said something that I found unusual. He mentioned that he had spoken to some more undesirable individuals. I did not press him on the matter, and he was not particularly forthcoming about it. All that he said was that he had spoken to some bad people who made him concerned for his safety. I was going to report this to the guard when he left, but as he was leaving the church, another man entered. They stopped to engage in conversation, and I returned to my duties, but as I did so there was a shout, and the man fell. The man that I had taken confessional with had fallen down. I thought initially the man had struck him, or there'd been some physical confrontation, but as I rushed over to him, he seemed stricken with some sort of painful affliction, something that caused the veins in his body to stand out in an unusual way against his skin. I could find nothing wrong with him, and as I began to call upon Pelor's powers to attempt to heal him, I am afraid he passed. The man in question who did this to him, he has not been seen since, and I did not see anyone enter or leave the cathedral during that point. I do not know where the man disappeared to.
I
Do you
think
remember what he looked like?
That is the thing. He looked like... Well, I presume it was perhaps an illusion, but he looked like the man... The brother of the man who I was giving confessional to. But it cannot have been him. The brother in question has not been resident in the city for a long time, and upon searching the city and asking about his whereabouts, the man is believed to be dead. Which is what leads me to believe that it may have been a disguise.
That's not creepy at all.
guess. Have you been after the nobleman died? Were you able to determine if it was magically inflicted?
We examined the body, and to the best of my ability, I believe it was magic, but there was no sign of physical injury, and whilst I cannot prove that it was caused magically, I cannot think of any other explanation as to why.
The only other possibility would be a poison, but it would be.
If it was a poison, I do not know how it was applied to him.
I guess it's not a lot to go on, but is there any magic that comes to mind that would have had that sort of effect on somebody that, like, I could think of? I know that I'm not very well versed in that, but...
I mean, yeah, would I know anything about that?
This may, I am not sure what the religious, how this would coincide with your religious beliefs. However, would you be able to, speak to dead?
Okay, so in order of answering those questions, Elizabeth, you can make me an Arcana check. Grim, the chaplain sunkeeper, sort of looks at you and says, "This is not something that we would usually do. The dead are usually left well enough alone."
I am aware. However, I thought perhaps with permission of the appropriate families, they might be curious as to what occurred. And, well, I would not wish to disrespect your order, and if you would disagree, I will leave it at that, and we'll pursue other venues until every other option is exhausted.
You could almost certainly ask the family, but I believe they have already entombed him within the family crypt and are settled on the matter that he was murdered. You are welcome to try, but I must say I will not lend my assistance to this quest.
Well, unfortunately, I don't believe any of us are capable of this on our own.
New.
Um,
And well,
I cannot speak with dead.
So Elizabeth, with your Arcana check, causing the veins to bulge unnaturally against the skin, that's a side effect of many kinds of necromantic magic. Spells such as inflict wounds or blight or other such spells that deliberately cause necrosis. A side effect is often engorged veins or internal bleeding. So yeah, with that knowledge, the diagnosis is necrotic damage killed him.
Yeah, I guess then Elizabeth would voice that by just sort of, as the conversation dies down, saying, "The symptoms you describe, I know those to be side effects of some sort of necromancy, but I'm afraid that's all I can explain."
Chaplain Sunkeeper sort of puts his hands together for a moment, so it says, "I hope you appreciate. I am telling you this because I am aware of your individual abilities. This has been kept quiet among the populace, as unsolved magical murders are not... They are not good for city morale.
Of course.
If you wish to investigate this, I would ask you that you do so quietly."
of course.
As quiet as a church mouse.
Chaplain Sunkeeper just looks at you.
She has some weird sayings, but don't think too much
I
about it.
am familiar with the saying. It's...
Sorry, was it inappropriate? I apologize.
not inappropriate, just odd.
That's a pretty good way to describe me.
There's one last question that, or at least one more question that we definitely need to ask. There wouldn't be some kind of group new group that has showed up wearing red coats, perhaps?
Chaplain Sunkeeper looks for a moment and sort of says,
Or like a general increase in red coats?
I can't say that there has been. There is certainly an increase in the number of people wearing coats, specifically red coats. I cannot say.
Oh, well. It's the season for coats, but
certainly no groups of people in red coats beyond perhaps my own order, but that tends to be red and white.
No, because, one of the troublemakers from our own investigation is a halfling in a red coat, and that is almost all that we have to go on.
Yes, in a city the size of Rourke's Gate, halfling and red coat are not exactly distinctive.
Oh, well, we were hoping it was parts of perhaps a greater organization, which would in turn be bad, but at least give us
Potentially
direction.
easier to
I mean, if
track
it
down.
was, they'd probably keep any sort of, universal sort of attire a bit more secret.
Oh,
given
you'd be
his actions, I don't
surprised.
think it's the kind of thing that they'd wear just out and about the town.
Well, sometimes wearing a certain hat is like a sign of being part of an order. Like they could have had their own thing.
I don't know if it's the kind of order you'd want to announce you're a part of, or
That's why-
even let people know existed.
But that's why you tell other people that you're in there without telling other people. Only the
Yeah.
people that are in the know.
Chaplain Sunkeeper sort of nods and says, "This city is full of organizations and groups. It would not be hard to hide a more nefarious one among the more legitimate."
But we will, I guess our first course of action will be, well, what will it be? Like, I do not want to bother the
I suppose we
noble.
have time to discuss that.
If you wish for more specific details, I'm sure Paladin Remus can provide you with more information when he is off duty.
He mentioned as much, yeah.
Yes, I believe he has been involved more in the legal administration of the incident, as well as some personal interest in the more recent break-ins.
Oh, whilst we're here, would you happen to have a list of where the break-ins occurred, or would we have to get that from Ramus?
I do not know them well. I know some details about them, but I would not be comfortable giving them to you in this capacity. I think you would best be asking the guard, or perhaps the paladin, if he would be willing.
Very well.
Also, a quick out-of-character question. Is there potentially anything I would know about the noble families of Rourke's Gate?
Unless you have the noble background.
Well, I tried.
You're not from here, so no.
No.
Although you could roll me a history check to see what you know in general.
I'd be happy with that.
Yes, there have not been nothing.
Okay.
Cool. And besides, even if I don't have that information, I know where to find it.
Well, we also know where to find it right now, but the question is if they want to give it to us.
Well, no, I meant like doing more sort of, looking into attaining knowledge of the families in general, so we'd at least know what's going on, the past, the history of the families, what exactly is going on between them.
Oh, I
Okay.
am very well aware.
So the things that you know about the noble houses of Rourke's Gate is there are five basically there are five well-known house names that are responsible for a lot of the business and trade that made Rourke's Gate as successful as it is, because Rourke's Gate runs on a lot of industry and has become profitable because of the people who are in charge of that industry. The noble houses that you know of, their names are, I will write them out for you.
Yeah, and I guess at the same time, can I ask if he'd tell me which family the individual was from? Or the victim?
Two, three, four. So yeah, the surnames of the five notable houses are Othel, Rayter, Smallbrook, Banks, and Dorrit.
Cool.
Which sounds like a firm of lawyers now that I say it out loud.
Yeah.
It really does. It does.
Well, it's probably where they originated.
Smallbrook law firm.
But yes, the individual in question who was murdered is Richard Smallbrook.
Mm.
So.
Well, I'm looking forward to hitting some books. Not literally.
So, Chaplain Sunkeeper sort of stands up from the bench and says, well, if that is all, then I have a service to prepare for.
I guess just to make sure that we aren't missing anything, nothing else unusual has happened that you've noticed.
Not in quite such a dramatic sense. Things change in the city all the time, but
Right.
nothing quite so dramatic. You will be pleased to know that our exchanges with the Guardians of Damood has been proceeding amicably.
I'm very glad to hear that. Do you happen to know where I can go calling for any of them?
I don't know their particular location at any time, but I suppose the best place to look is look for anyone these days. I can't get my words out today.
Yeah, big move.
The best place to look for anyone these days is either in a tavern or a cafe.
Alright, fair enough. Thank you.
I hope the next time we meet it's under some more favourable circumstances.
Well, we may see you again this evening, if that is more favorable to you. Just kinda...
Situation hasn't really changed.
Look, I'm trying to...
He sort of nods and says, yes, I will be around, but
I understand what you mean.
yes.
The same.
Okay, you part ways.
Okay. I guess, is there anything else that we want to pursue in terms to the information that we just got? Or, if not, I guess it's tavern and cafe hopping.
I think we'll go cafe hopping, and if the turn gets late, we might stop by one of
Yeah.
their homes again. Oh,
Yeah,
we could
well,
just
if
have
it
dropped off a
gets-
note.
No, if it gets late, I'm going to just try to locate one of them, because I think I can locate a specific person if I'm familiar with them.
You
if
can,
that's how
yes.
this spell works, yeah.
Yes.
But may as well try normal means first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long as this city isn't bigger than 1,000 feet.
I was just gonna suggest leaving, a note in their mailbox so when they get home, they get, can see it.
Yeah.
But that's
I
fine.
could do both.
Locate person also works.
Eh,
Magic.
Are you having this conversation out loud, by the way? Like, actually in game?
Maybe
Oh.
not the locate
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not the specific
No.
locate person,
May-
but like, oh, let's go look
Yeah.
at cafes and
Okay.
stuff, at least.
So, in that case, Catherine sort of comes up to you and says, I couldn't help but overhear. Are you looking for Felt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give them?
I may know where he is.
If
That
if you'll
works.
share that'd be very helpful.
Yeah. Well, recently I've bumped into him a couple of times. There's a small place that serves hot mead and food just on the corner of the square. I've seen him coming and going from there a couple of times, sometimes with Cassian, sometimes by himself. he might be there.
Well, that's a better place to start than we originally had, so thank you.
Much better.
I guess perhaps we'll see you later, but if not, have a good rest of your day.
Thanks. To depart. And head out into the square. And as you look around, you do indeed see this. Basically, there's right on the corner of the square, just as you come into it from the church, there is a small, like, glass-fronted wooden building that basically hanging from the try that again. Hanging from the overhang of the building is a long sign that has basically two beakers of what looks like a red liquid, like sort of being clinked into each other by two hands, and the script next to it basically says let me find my note. Nope, wrong way.
Health Potion Cafe.
No, it's not the Health Potion Cafe.
Shame.
The
Greater Health Potion Cafe.
Shush. No. It is called...
The Vampiric Cafe.
Shush! I'm trying to read through my notes, and you're very distracting. Nope, I absolutely cannot find the name of this place. Anyway, it has a name on it. You enter.
Okay, great.
Fuck's
So
sake.
it's not the Health Potion, Greater Health Potion, or Vampiric Cafes.
Do you ever just write a bunch of notes and then you're just like, I'm sure I came up with a name for this place, and then just cannot find it in anywhere written down?
Definitely.
All the time.
Definitely, 1000%.
Yeah.
Okay, so you enter this kind of establishment that definitely has a name. Yeah, so basically the place set out before you is it's your standard sort of like eatery affair. There's like a number of like long tables, and basically in the center of the room is a large stone chimney that like has a circular fireplace at the bottom. There's a number of benches sort of like positioned around this fire that there's a number of people sitting next to, and then there's other people like populated on tables. Sitting in the back corner closest to like the serving counter, Kelariis, you lay eyes on a man who you can identify as Velt, although since you last saw him he has grown sort of like this rough, like stubbly beard across his chin, and he seems to be in the middle of sort of like drinking a cup of something warm and steaming.
It's just him.
It's just him.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I will walk over. He has a drink, you said, sorry.
Yeah, he has a drink.
Okay, then, well, I'm not gonna get him another one if he already has a drink. Yeah, I'll walk over, and if there is a place to sit across of him, I will do so, but if not, I will...
Yeah, you can, he's basically sat on a table by himself, so...
Oh, felt.
Is there room for the lot of us then?
Yes.
Ain't that nice?
Okay, so you all sort of like pile into this table, and Velt just like looks up from his drink, like looks at you, Kelariis, and is just like, well, well.
Hello. It's been a while since we've been back.
He just sort of stares at you for a moment.
I hope we weren't interrupting anything important by taking a seat.
Just sort of like looks at his cup and says, nope, I don't think so.
Do you regularly just sit alone in complete silence? Like, just drinking?
Sometimes I do it with my friends. I'm sorry, I should be more welcoming. Just had a bad day.
Did something happen?
Nothing more than usual.
Anything that I could help with, or?
Possibly.
I kind of like tilt my head, like, go on.
He puts like one hand on the table, like leans on, well, puts his elbow on the table, leans on his hand, sort of like sighs, looks up at your companions and says, I don't really want to do this in front of everyone.
I see.
Shall we just sit elsewhere then? Or is it more private than that?
He sort of just shrugs.
That's possibly the least helpful answer.
He seems perfectly content to stay sitting there, but
Well, I guess I'll just leave it to it.
you guys like get up from the table.
Does anyone else want a drink?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can go to the thing and buy some drinks. They sell hot mead and food. Velt sort of
I think
like
I asked this, or I guess like if the Sierra goes to get up, like I will kind of motion for her to stay sitting with us.
Velt like looks at you quizzically.
My squire, the Sierra. This is Vault, the Sierra.
A pleasure. A squire?
Well,
That's unconventional.
squire is the easiest way to like, friend, companion, squire, mentee. There are a lot of different words, but it is the one that is easiest to explain to most people.
He nods and sort of says, yeah, okay, squire makes sense. He sort of like leans in and sort of says, well, I guess you could say I have squire problems as well.
Oh?
I got 99 problems, and a squire is one.
Yep.
Thank you, Luka.
He sort of sighs and says, Cassian and I have had a falling out. Well,
Oh.
a couple of falling outs.
I mean, I know that she's a bit outspoken and strong-willed, but enough that enough that it's caused this, well, from what I guess, considering the way that you're saying it, such a big rift?
He sits there with like his mouth open for a few moments, as if he's about to say something, and just sort of says, "The Church of Palor has made an offer to us. I don't like it, but Cassian thinks it's a good opportunity. I may have lost my temper a little. I may have called her a stupid child.
Well,
Kelariis just lets out a very heavy, long sigh. And you wonder why she was upset.
Oh, I'm fully aware of why she's upset. I'm just... I have held on to everything to do with maintaining our temple, maintaining what we stand for my whole life, and someone is now coming in and suggesting that we change everything, and I'm concerned we are going to lose who we are.
Change does not necessarily mean that you will lose everything. It sometimes just means that things will go forward in a different way. But I also understand the concern considering what the situation was when I first arrived here. And of course I haven't been here the entire time to see how things have changed, but...
The long and short of it is, they want us to open up, to have a public face. Cassian thinks this is a brilliant idea. She thinks it's a chance for us to have a say in things, and I don't disagree with that idea. I'm just concerned about what they intend to do if we're more open. Because if we're more open, that means they have access to what we know. Our operations. We start to become beholden to their rules.
Right.
So here I am, day drinking in a bar. because I really don't know what to do.
Has oh fuck. Dom is his name, right?
Yes.
Has Dom said anything about it, or does he even know?
He knows.
Does he think?
And Dom thinks exactly what Dom thinks. That he is completely impartial in every decision and won't take an active stand in any point. He is merely an observer.
Just.
He said that with so much hate.
Right, I see. Kelariis understands more of where that's coming from.
Yes.
But also, I don't think that Velt knows, or if Velt knows, I don't think Kelariis knows that he's aware, so... yeah,
as far as you are aware, you are the only person who knows the truth about Dom.
okay. Yeah, I figured, but, like, and I wasn't sure, so I'm, like, not gonna say anything. Kelariis is not that reckless about saying shit. Right. Well... as much as I am all for taking a strong stance, I've seen what, well, I mean, even you've seen what, just throwing insults at each other, at your friends, can do, to your relationships, and to the cohesiveness of the group that you are with. And, like, I kind of look over to everybody else and just kind of, I guess, like, look past to, like, look out the door thinking of, like, you know, all the shit that happened the last time we were here that's not directly related to this whole situation. I guess some of it was, but... have you tried to talk to Cassian again? Or have you just been sitting here drinking?
I haven't talked to her for... well, since we had the argument a couple of days ago. Well, the big argument. Which, I'll be honest, is frankly kind of awkward because I'm basically sleeping on her couch.
And
So-
you haven't spoken to her.
I've been avoiding her. I slept in the temple.
Well, there are worse places to sleep, but... do not take this in the wrong way, but perhaps it is time for one of the two of you to not have a stick up your ass about apologizing and talk about it.
He just like turns to you with like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Get wrecked.
I just kind of like, not like I'm not shrugging, but like, you know, like the put your hands out and like,
Yeah.
I said what I said. Like, maybe that's a bit of a harsh way of putting it, but I think the way to start is to, if not apologize right away. Well, actually no. Let me try that again. I think that a good place to start is at least with an apology for what you said. Because even if you disagree, even you recognize that that's maybe shouldn't have been the thing that you said to her. But I can't make your decisions for you, and I can't tell you what to do. So.
He just sort of looks down for a moment and then says, You know, fuck it. You know what? You're right. I don't think I'm wrong. I really don't think I'm wrong, but I hate that she's mad at me.
Well, you did bring it upon yourself a little bit.
You say,
And
like,
by a little
barging
bit, I mean
back in
all
at the
of it.
table.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Arya
you're
just
not-
shows up
what?
like,
Yep.
you fucked up.
Well, maybe this is the mead talking, but anytime I see you guys, you always seem to be fucking my life up somehow, so I guess this is no different.
You know,
Wow!
I mean, like, fair, honestly.
I don't know the man.
I mean,
He's also not
I'm
talking
sure-
to you, he's talking to you,
Yeah,
to
I know.
Arya and Kelariis.
I mean, this probably won't help, but we did come here for other reasons as well. Though I would prefer not to repeat the story many more times than I already have today. Well, or repeat the information more than I already have today. And if we could perhaps talk, or if I could talk to everybody, or if we could talk to everybody at once, that would be much appreciated. As much as I wish we came here just to visit, so there was a bit more behind it.
He sort of nods and says, well, before I go anywhere, I need a glass of water and something to eat.
I will pay for food and whatever
Okay.
for him.
Yeah, just deduct like 2 silver and
Okay.
just like
Yeah,
buy him
it's
something
an
to eat.
apology for being a little
Yeah.
harsh and a little bit of an asshole.
Hmm.
But
He-
I think that's what he needed to hear. So.
Yeah. So that like he starts eating, the rest of you like reconvene at the table, and he just sort of says, "I'm sorry for my attitude. It's been a tough couple of days. I am pleased to see you, and make some new acquaintances, I guess." It says, sort of like offering a hand to Elizabeth.
Yeah. Ah, yes, of course. I'll shake his hand. I'm Elizabeth Topaz Agiad.
Pleasure. So you finally ditched the dwarf.
No, he's still
He
home,
just-
and I'm definitely going to tell him you said that.
Tell him whatever you want.
Well,
You're
I'm glad
very
to see
grumpy.
You have some of your old attitude back for the moment. It's better than seeing you dejected and day drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good look.
Could be better.
Ah, shit.
So you are Velt.
That was Velt.
Okay. Is something wrong?
I may have done something else a bit stupid.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, not here.
Alright, fair enough.
Sort of stands up and says, right, well, suppose I better put my professional face on. I am a high priest after all. Sort of strides out of the tavern with you guys in tow. Walks to the garden. Looks around. Opens the hatchway. Descends. And steps into the interior of the Temple of Tallithsyr, which like you pause in the middle of the central chamber that has the large Triskelion on the floor,
Yeah.
and the Cirrus just sort of pauses and like looks around and is seemingly a little in awe.
Yeah.
I mean, Elizabeth is also probably in awe as well. Although it's more of the ooh kind of variety.
Velt just sort of stands in the center, like takes a deep breath and calls, Cassian, I'm here to apologize. Like, from the side chamber, like after a few seconds, the door opens, Cassian strides out, looking much the same as she ever did with the monk's robe and the shaved head.
Yeah.
Just sort of steps into the chamber and says, I'm ready to hear it. I'm sorry I called you a stupid child. That was uncalled for. I don't disregard your thoughts, and you're not wrong. I am just concerned that making all of these changes is going to compromise who we are. But I didn't mean to insult you, and I definitely didn't mean to shout at you. And for that I'm sorry. Cassian just sort of like stares with this level-headed look that she always has and just says, I understand your concern. And for the record, I don't think you're wrong either. I just want you to consider the fact that this might be an opportunity for us to come out of the shadows, to be meaningful again.
Elizabeth just has a hand slightly raised. Because she doesn't want to necessarily like jump in with a comment, but she also has a comment.
Nobody is paying attention to you.
Yeah, I didn't think
Well, none of the NPCs are paying attention to you.
Yeah. She'll just happily stand there like that.
Veltz just sort of pauses for a second and says, well, I guess that's an apology. Turns to Kelariis because he has no idea what the rest of it's anything else he needs to say.
Yo, dude, I'm not gonna tell you how to fucking apologize to, to her.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there is a way to do both. To move forward and not compromise everything and to not compromise everything that we stand for, or that you stand for. But getting at each other's throats obviously isn't going to help, so...
From behind you, the voice of an old man says, I agree with the champion.
I turn and... people don't see Kelariis, like, bow unprompted very often, but, like I do, you know? A little.
Yeah, as the rest of you, like, turn around, silently and at a speed entirely befitting of an old man has appeared behind you.
A wild old man has appeared.
Yeah. He's had his coffee and now he's going to teach you how to catch Pokemon.
Wow. Damn. It's
Nice.
time.
I've always wanted to know.
I want to be the very best, Tom. Please teach me.
The very best
Yeah.
that no one ever was.
But yeah.
Yeah, he sort of turns towards
Also, no
you.
one isolate that.
Yeah. Elizabeth, as this is your first time meeting Dom, basically he has like his eyes are completely like white because he's blind.
Yeah.
And he sort of turns in the direction of Kelariis and sort of says, "Perhaps I'm wrong, but your presence feels stronger since we last met."
Oh shit! I totally forgot to tell them that I found the last thing. Holy shit! I'm a fool. Actually, I guess that is a good point that I neglected and I guess wouldn't have brought up earlier. But I was successful in finding Calestro as well.
Sort of like produce the spear.
Yeah.
Velt and Cassian just sort of like turn towards you and are just like open mouth for a moment, like they both sort of stare at you. Dom just sort of like bows his head, and Velt just says, "I did not think that I would ever see all three unified."
It was... I couldn't have done it without everybody's help. It was my quest, but my friends and all of you helped me accomplish that. And I believe that there is still more to be done with them, so...
Dom sort of like nods to that statement and says, "Three aspects of Tritherion never come together without a purpose." But that is not why you've come here.
No. There is more going on, and as I mentioned to Velt, as much as God, I think today is just a day where none of us can speak.
Yeah.
As much as I wished it was just to visit and bring this good news, there has been a bit more going on. Both rumors about the city that we've heard, but also some danger that I guess I and those around me are in at the moment that may or may not be related. I guess I should apologize for potentially bringing that danger to all of you as well, but...
Yeah, someone really wants Kelariis dead.
Like half shrug, like yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Every
like,
day.
send high-level demon after her, kind of
thing.
dead.
Yeah.
The Cassian and Velt exchange like a glance, but Dom just sort of like nods and says, "It would not surprise me if others have not learned of your success, and it is not good news for all."
No.
There are definitely parties out there who would wish to see the artifacts divided again.
I do not know how directly related it is to the artifacts. Part of the reason that part of what we are trying to figure out is who has sent this, well, who sent the first thing after me and who is sending these threats. and I guess like for the brevity of it, I explain like
Okay.
what's been going on. I'm not gonna do it all again because we've all heard it at least
Yep.
3 times at this point.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you watch like as the Guardians of Namud sort of like their mood becomes sort of dour and serious. Velt eventually sort of speaks up and says, "So, if I understand correctly, you suspect someone who has a personal grudge."
It's the best that we've been able to figure at the moment.
Someone
They're
who's
not exactly
here in the
fleshed
city.
out. Perhaps. I guess I kind of like look to Arya and just say we did our best to track the last thing that was sent after me, but we lost its trail a bit further north.
It's quite a way for a thing to travel. I'm not surprised that tracks have disappeared. Surprised you managed to find it as far as you did.
Arya is fantastic at track.
Don't mind if bragging.
Don't mind me just talking up my good friends.
Felt muses for a moment and sort of says, I did... When the break-ins first discovered, I did ask some questions of some of my less reputable associates. I did also come to the conclusion that something was a little out of place, as nobody has tried to shift anything, if anything was indeed taken during these break-ins. The only person with the skills and contacts to move stolen gear is Nordstrom. And nothing has come through him. At least as far as he has told me, and considering our history, I trust him to tell me quite a lot.
I see. Do we know what was taken at all?
That information has not been easy to gather. I don't know if the investigators from the Radiant Dawn were given a list, but I was not able to find it out. I have asked on occasion about what was happening, but they are reluctant to tell me, and I can understand that. I think they would feel responsible if we started taking actions where they were still trying to work.
Right.
Our methods are often less subtle.
Yes, that is one way of putting it. I mean, we plan to do a bit more looking into it as much as we can, but we don't even know if it's related for sure, but it's, I think at the moment, one of the better leads that I think we have. Kind of look back at everybody like, you want to input on that statement?
Anyone?
No?
Apparently not.
I missed like the last bit of that sentence.
Oh, I just saying that like we were planning to look into it, and that's kind of the best lead we have right now. And Kelariis like looks back at everybody, and like see if anybody else has anything they want to add or say or muse.
Elizabeth just shrugs.
Actually, now that I think about it, we're probably gonna have to interact with the nobles in some meaningful way. I guess what would be your best point of entry? Would it be a party? Would it be just straight up walking up to them?
That depends on the angle you want to approach them.
I was more thinking as if it was mainly because if you were aware of any high class gatherings, I guess. Like that might be interesting, but I guess we'll find out if we actually are interested in that.
If he is willing, I would say Chaplain Sunkeeper is your best in to the upper classes. The Church of Tritherion generally doesn't deal with nobles.
Oh, I am well aware.
Hey!
Wow.
There's-
What's that supposed to mean?
I feel like when Trifarian wants to deal with nobles, that's a one-time deal for the nobles.
It's more a premise that money and power tends to be the oppressors rather than the oppressed.
Yes.
As a historian, I can very much back that up.
As a man on the street, I can very much back that up.
Yeah, that too.
Well, surprisingly enough, they might be the ones being controlled right now.
It's hard to say until we look into it further, I guess, but
Oh, considering the what we know,
that's true.
there's a good chance. Guess one of the more interesting questions is going to be how terrified are they of speaking? Considering one noble already just died for confession.
Yeah.
And I doubt that they would not abuse or use this as an example for the others.
Almost certainly.
Well, what I know is the houses that were broken into, Rata, Banks, Dorrit, all of them are let's just say they're known to the Church of Tritherion. It's previously they've all had dealings that have come across as unfavorable to us. I'm not saying there's any outstanding issue with them, but I think perhaps if you were to approach them, maybe keeping your affiliations quiet would be advisable.
To be honest, I tend to do that most of the time anyway, and I'm sure that you understand why, so
Yes, it's...
don't worry about that.
And I'll wait until after we save them.
Yeah, to proclaim.
Hmm.
I do appreciate the warning, though.
It's weird. It's rather convenient there's the houses that are broken into as well.
What do you mean?
Well, given the victim of the incident at the cathedral, member of a separate family. If people are controlling those families, then they've all been targeted, so to speak. Well, nearly all of them.
Perhaps... maybe you're
Only-
right.
I mean, Richard Smallbrook was murdered. Rita, Banks, Dorrit broken into. That means only Offal hasn't been touched.
Meaning they're either the next target or the perpetrators.
Indeed.
Potentially.
And besides, I'm not quite well versed in my history in this region, but that could change. But, noble families, they bicker.
That is certainly true.
I feel like that's the same no matter where you go.
Indeed.
Wow.
Indeed, that's why I'm glad I'm not one.
I would suggest perhaps, if you have your meeting with this paladin, gather the information he can give to you and make some deductions based on that. I would have a word as well, once you have more information, with Catherine. She's not as involved in dealings of the Radiant Dawn, but given her previous occupations, she keeps an ear to the ground, more than she might let on. It's possible that she's picked up information from a ground level that other people may not be aware of.
Well, we'll likely see her again. If not this evening, then in the future. If not, we probably can find her, so we'll definitely have a chat with her.
If you see her, can you ask her if she'd be willing to speak to me? It's possible I may owe her an apology as well.
You've upset a lot of people.
Oh,
Sorry,
will pass-
did I just say that out
will
loud?
pass
Fine.
the message. I
This-
will pass the message on for you.
Thank you. And I assure you, he says, turning to Elizabeth, this one was not intended.
Fair enough.
I mean, it speaks a lot that a person is willing to apologize. So
That's always the first step.
No, the first step is accepting you have a problem.
It's
that's the
always
second step.
Second step.
Yeah. I'm sorry that I didn't come with just good news, but
I think knowing that you have all three artifacts now is certainly more than just good news. Everything that follows afterwards seems, well, par for the course. I think I just invented golf. Canon.
Wow.
damn.
Hooray!
Can't believe golf is real.
Anyway,
Let us know.
so, yeah, with that, the group in the hall just sort of begins to, like, Dom makes his apologies and begins to shuffle off.
Yeah.
Cassian, like, dips away.
Oh, I would actually like to introduce the Sira to both of them before they go.
Okay. So yeah,
like,
you
proper-
introductions. So like Cassian walks over and sort of greets the Sira and says, "It is a pleasure to meet you." Sirius just sort of says, "And you, Kelariis has spoken of you before." turn to Dom. Dom sort of like leans, like holds out both his hands, and like Tallithsyr is just like turns to you and just sort of like, do I take it?
Oh, I love her so much. Yeah, I just kind of, like, nod, gesture. Like,
She just sort of
"Go
like
on."
grabs his hands, and he's just like, "It is good to meet another seeker." She sort of like stands there, and is like, thank you. I don't exactly know what it is that I'm seeking yet, but thanks." He just sort of smiles and says, "I have met many young folk who would say that is relatable."
Hashtag.
Hashtag
Hashtag relatable.
relatable. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, Dom, for relating to the youth.
The youth of our nation.
Well, I think more perhaps that he's suppositioning towards this is the same thing that Velt and Cassian and probably Kelariis felt.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't know what I'm seeking, but
I sure am seeking something.
yeah. Although in Kelariis' case it was a little bit more specific because it started with a sword.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the other things somewhere.
Also your divine destiny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The
Never
usual.
forget the divine destiny.
Yeah. To
Anyway.
be fair, I think I have had more direct guidance than a lot of other people can
Yes.
say they had. And I
Yeah.
was still pretty confused and lost for a bit, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally talks to you directly, so...
Yeah.
That is true.
Anyway. Yeah, the exchanges are done. Everyone begins to sort of like peter away, except for Velt, who just sort of like hangs around awkwardly.
If I could
Yeah.
just say one thing. I guess if Elt's there, then
Yeah.
Elizabeth is realizing that's the person to mention it. If I could just mention one thing. You can never really lose your roots if you write them down properly. That's what history's for. Just throwing that idea out there.
Velt sort of like looks at you curiously and sort of says, I understand the sentiment, but history is very often shaped by those who have power and popular opinion.
Well, that's why you've got to be the one to write it. That's why I'm out and about. Someone's got to record the truth.
And perhaps if you write something positive about us, then that may influence the future, but... The Church of Tritherion has not been well treated by history.
There is a reason that I think you had such a lopsided perception of who Tritherion is and what he stands for.
And that brings me quite neatly to my second point. Being more public gives you a chance to show that that's not true.
But I feel like
Something
problem-
scarier if you don't know what it is. Which is
Yeah, but like
presumably
if
why
you
people are so scared.
Like, but by going public, you might have to sacrifice things that your order stands for, and that's feels kind of weird.
In order to properly progress to the future, we have to sacrifice some things of the past.
Yeah,
That's
but
just the natural order of
some things can't be sacrificed. Because if you sacrifice them, then you lose the point, basically.
It is difficult for us to consider compromising on a lot of what matters to us. Particularly when others see what we do very often as extreme.
Well, to a degree it is. It is an extreme.
I have never disagreed with that sentiment.
But
But-
sometimes that is what is necessary.
That's also a sentiment I can't disagree with.
The Church of
I'm also
Tallithsyr has been tasked with toppling tyrants and dealing with others who seek to exploit their power in the past, and often these individuals have been popular, or at least accepted. It is difficult to do that when you are being scrutinized in the public eye. But this is a philosophical debate that is probably best had in a more suitable forum. But yes, the hour is beginning to wind on, and you have a meeting to attend to.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Well, I guess we will be seeing you around then.
I hope so. Good luck with your meeting.
Thank you. It was very nice to see you again. And everybody else.
Oh, before we go, you mentioned what's his face? The well, I guess he would be kind of a fence.
Nordstrom.
Yes. Was that the guy we also dealt with last time?
You met him previously, Grim. You bought the switchblade from him.
Might be worth having a meeting him. Or well, I guess. Would you mind telling us where to find him, or I guess we could find him on our own. But...
I can endeavour to find where he is at the moment. I haven't been in contact with him for a while, but I have no doubt he is still in town. He rarely ventures far.
He had some curious contraptions last time, so...
Curious contraptions is definitely one of his hobbies.
Well, I was hoping to check that out. And, well, maybe if he has something nice, he'd also... Well, I guess he does know more than you do, but that's fine. Oh, before we forget, any notable increase in redcoats in the area? People wearing red coats?
Red coats?
I'll take that as a no.
Felt like looks to Kelariis, as if they're like expecting some sort of clarification.
Oh,
A person
Somebody
we
had
followed
them
here
met.
was wearing a red coat.
well, we didn't necessarily follow them here, but
Tracked them here.
someone that
track them
was
near here.
headed in this direction, who may or may not be related. We're grasping at a lot of straws here, and we're trying to cover all of our bases.
We don't have a lot to work with.
Yeah.
Which is why one of our primary sources is where they got their paper from.
Paper?
Well, yeah, that's the reason we
Well-
thought to track them south, because the paper they used was a fairly
Not
low quality.
entirely-
You know what? Let's not get.
That's
It's not important.
But
It's not that important, and honestly, fairly dull. Unless I think you're me or Von Dahl.
I assume you're talking about the letter that you received, the threat.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I see it?
Of course. And I pull it out. I guess I'll pull up the other one too.
Yeah, okay. You pull out them both and sort of hand them over to Velt. He's sort of like looks at them first one and is like, ah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's
The main
one
reason I thought to
mystery-
track it south is because of the wax that was used to seal it,
Well,
namely
well,
the candle wax made from a specific thing.
well, they gave us the clue that they were in the south, but the main reason we came down here is because we tracked the actual assassin.
Well, yeah, but it gave us a clue that we were
Yeah.
that the south was the direction.
But more importantly, we couldn't figure out why there was charcoal in the letters.
Yeah. And the stains are the same on both letters.
I will admit I was hoping for handwriting.
Yeah, they've not really done handwriting.
No, one of my few skills is in the art of forgery. So I was wondering if perhaps I could pick up something from the hand, but no, this is deliberately done to obscure a particular style of writing. Whoever your mysterious would-be assassin is cautious.
There are a lot of conflicting things.
The charcoal, though.
What about it?
Does it stand out to you?
The reason I think of this is I know it's a bit tenuous, but when having been in charge of this temple for quite some time, when I perform rituals or ceremonies, very often handling charcoal becomes a part of it, whether it's lighting braziers or performing particular spells. Charcoal is often an ingredient in those things. Either your person who's writing you threatening letters is a charcoal burner or deals a lot with lit braziers or is into rituals. I know that's not a huge amount of information, but that's what came to mind.
We guessed it might be due to the ritual.
Yeah.
Bringing a demon to this world, we assumed that would involve. Well,
Yes, quite possibly.
however, we are not too familiar with the rituals.
Yeah, we're not demonologists.
Unfortunately, I don't know any of those.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to.
Well, he turns to Kelariis and says, "I've only ever met one with an interest in demons, and we both know how that story ends."
Yes. Wait, who was he referring? What?
The cultist who tried to kill him.
Oh, okay, yeah. Right. I was like, what are you talking? Yeah, no. Kelariis remembers this.
Yes.
I don't. This has been a.
Yes, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. TLDR. A cultist came asking about the. A cultist from the Dread Legion came asking questions about the. The baton, and Velt got suspicious, asked a bunch of questions, to which the cultist response was to try and stab him, to which end Velt and Cassian basically murdered him and then buried the body.
Yeah. I mean, at least they buried the body.
Yeah.
that's the part we have to focus on.
Look.
I mean, you guys murdered plenty of cultists and didn't bury the bodies, so...
Yeah. You know. Also self-defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but having that sort of confirmation is helpful.
Yeah.
It reinforces some of our theories, so...
Okay. Well, I shan't keep you any longer. And I guess you guys go back to the cathedral for your meeting.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, as you step inside the cathedral, Catherine is there.
Oh, I guess if I don't immediately see Paladin, the Paladin Ramos.
You don't, but like this is basically like as you step inside the door, like she's there by the door as she usually is.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I kind of like nod in just general kind of greeting to her.
Yeah.
And just I know this may seem to come a bit out of nowhere, but Velt said he wishes to speak with you if you'd be willing.
She seems like taken aback for a moment. Just sort of says, "Oh, I see."
It sounds like he may want to try to... He may try to want to set some old things right, but I won't speak for him any further than that.
Yeah, I think I know what he's talking about. I tell him I'll think about it. I don't know if I'm ready to deal with that yet.
Yeah. I kind of like gently place a hand on her shoulder, like to attempt to be comforting, and just be like, "When you're ready, I'm sure he will understand."
Yeah. It's kind of a sore subject. Yeah. This is, yeah.
I am sorry for bringing it up.
No, it makes a lot more sense about what he said the other day.
Well, if you, I guess, wish to seek me out instead of him first, as long as we're in town, we're staying at the inn that I have the name of in character, but not written down.
Yeah, I don't have it either, so...
Yeah. This place.
Of all the things I made note of, I forgot 2 place names, which is pretty great.
Happens. Yeah. If not, or otherwise, like, I guess, if Paladin Ramos is around...
Yes,
or if he's-
I think he's waiting for you in the side vestry.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll go there if, unless it
Okay.
seems like we have to be like let in.
No, you head over there, and
Okay.
I think on that note we will come to a close.
Okay.
And yeah, so a session was had. Does anyone
Session
have anything they want to contribute, mention, talk about?
Some stuff is ready to happen.
It's hard to remember.
I guess
Yes.
this has been a setup session, I suppose.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would just like to say, I feel bad for telling Velt that maybe he has a stick of his ass. Kelariis does not feel bad, but I feel bad about saying that. Just want to get that out there because...
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. It definitely seems like he's going through some shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Some shit, TM.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's
I
kind of-
mean, he's gone through some shit, but he was also a dick, so.
Yeah.
Also, I'm mildly annoyed because I thought of something really cool to say and then forgot it instantly.
GG.
So I never got to say it. I spent the whole of the little bit when Minnie was talking to Vel, just going, "What was I trying to say?" I'll remember tomorrow morning. I bet you
Yep.
any money.
Probably. It is really fun though to come back to a place after such like a long time.
Yeah.
And have it be
Yeah.
like the first time we've like it was. I guess it was a little different when we came back to Silverbrook because it hadn't been like such a long period of time
Yeah.
between
Hmm.
like in between the spaces where we were gone. Plus, we'd had kind of been coming and going at that point a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting and different sort of experience.
Yeah. This is like a you hard left this place and then never expected to come back, and now you've come back and it's like, oh hey, yeah,
Yeah.
shit's
And also-
changed.
Also, didn't exactly leave on good terms.
We left on fine terms.
Yeah.
Like,
Fine is not good.
I mean, it was pretty decent compared to how it could have ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
Silverbrook where you left heroes. You left here being
Mm.
grudgingly given an artifact and then told not to cause trouble with it.
Yeah.
Which we may or may not have succeeded in.
I mean,
We haven't caused trouble with it.
I think that we've done perfectly fine with it.
Admittedly, I feel like sometimes he's been using it a little irresponsibly. Mainly thinking of when you used the baton on the mercenary guild guy in when we were releasing or like trying to help Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, I
Oh, wait,
I
no.
100% agree that that was not a responsible use of it, but also no regrets.
Yeah.
I was kind of
Also-
upset.
Also, relating to the baton, fun fact: if there had not been a demon at, Elizabeth was totally interested in trying an experiment with the baton.
Excuse me?
I can't believe.
If there had not been such an eventful night, Elizabeth the following morning would totally have gone, "Hey, I want to do an experiment because I want to know if my ring protects me from the baton."
Oh.
Well,
Because she's got a ring of mind shielding.
Oh, right.
Right.
So she's like, "Experiment, does that work?"
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Exactly, and she was going to, but then the demon shit happened and it felt suddenly very inappropriate.
Well,
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm sure we'll find another time.
indeed. So, I think with that, all that remains is to thank you all for playing, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.